Have you ever wondered how children acquire their first language in just 4 or 5 years? And they start speaking as perfect as us adults. Why can't adults be as perfect as the child when learning a foreign language? We often get bored and even frustrated. Welcome everyone, in this video we will be discussing child language acquisition and we will clarify some important questions about this issue. Stay tuned. There are many claims on how we acquire our mother language. Some say that the child learns their first language through imitation, rewards, and practice. This old school of learning is called behaviorism, meaning that as babies we are born with a blank slate, and we start acquiring language by being encouraged to imitate people around us on what they say, and we are rewarded and reinforced for that imitation. And that's how we keep practicing and repeating until we have mastered the language. A Russian chemist and physiologist named Pavlov has tried to prove that through his famous experiment of dog salivation. As you will see in the video, Pavlov is using the ticking sound to show us that the dog, whenever he hears that sound, it starts producing the salivation because it relates the sound to food. In other words, the dog has learnt through practice, repetition and reinforcement.
5 минут 42,5 секунды.
After taking many measurements of spittle, he confirmed that the dogs drooled automatically when their tongues touched food. He called the response the salivation reflex.
4,5. Хорошая собачка. Я предлагаю поменять собаку.
But his work started to run into trouble. As his dogs became familiar with the experimental routine, they started to fill their cheek tubes before Pavlov had a chance to stimulate their tongues. The dogs were learning to anticipate food. Pavlov tried a new technique. He erected screens so that the dogs couldn't see what was going on. Before passing meat through the hatch, he introduced a stimulus that was totally unrelated to feeding. A ticking metronome. At first, the dog dripped saliva into its cheek tube only when the food appeared. But after a number of trials, the dog began to connect the ticking with the arrival of meat. Soon the sound alone made the dog drool. Eventually, the dog salivated as much to the ticking itself as it did originally to the presentation of food.
Полная. Идите сюда. Что я говорил?
He called this new response the conditioned reflex.
Собака.
Whatever the stimulus, his dogs could soon be conditioned to produce saliva. Pavlov believed that he had discovered how animals learned, even in the wild.
Years later, exactly in 1960, the American linguist and the so-called father of modern linguistics, Noam Chomsky, came out with a totally different perspective. According to him, humans are surely much more creative in the use of language, and as children, we don't seem to only repeat and imitate what others say. Otherwise, our use of language will be so limited and learning will take much time. This perfection of language use, according to Chomsky, is thanks to a device we are born with, which he calls the LAD. In other words, language acquisition device, that comes with ready-made parameters and principles, and it enables us to quickly pick up the language. Therefore, people around us are only an input or a stimulus that activate those parameters and principles, which already exist somewhere in the brain. Okay, wait. But why can't we have this skill with learning a foreign language as adults? Well, Eric Lindenberg, a German linguist and neurologist, after only 4 years of Noam Chomsky's revolutionary claims, argued that our ability to acquire languages is linked to age. According to this guy, human beings' cognitive skills, including language, are developed since birth till the age of 5. Any delay may lead to deficiencies, and these cognitive skills become difficult to learn.